where do we think this stands in artistic nudity? And just for the record, yes, she was banned for this stream. This is actually what got her banned. Yep, that's right. I talked to some professors. We'll get to that in a minute, but first, a little background to what's been happening. As many of you know, Twitch recently changed their TOS for what's allowed on their platform. And it got a little weird. This came about because the just chatting category was kind of just filled with women who were topless, like with their breasts just kind of out of frame, like jostling their jubblies around. You know, there's always some new meta on Twitch. You know, first it was the hot tub streams, then it was like licking the ASMR mic, and now we're kind of the culmination of that with, you know, just people being pretty much butt-ass naked. I didn't think this was gonna last long, but shockingly, like, Twitch just decided to change the rules, and suddenly all this stuff that was previously bannable is, like, now allowed on the platform. Now, like, twerking, pole dancing, and whatever the hell is, like, suddenly allowed. But the most interesting addition was that now you are allowed to do artistic nudity on Twitch. So you'd expect to go to the art category and see it, you know, filled with people doing gesture studies and anatomy studies and tasteful life.
Of course not.
The night that it happened, I was actually live over at twitch.tv/RubberRoss drawing because I forgot to draw a YouTube thumbnail for the next day. But I sure as hell picked a night to do it because, oh my god, the stuff there was wild. I scrolled down and just saw Sly Cooper and Sonic titties. No shot. Hold on. No shot. Hold on one sec. Bro! Holy shit! Yo, I just went to the art tag. I don't know if I can show this without having the category myself, but there's some demon girl titties. There's some titties of a cat girl with the nipples spilling out. There's just straight up fat anime titties. There was a girl who like looked like she was pretending to render naked anime titties that she'd already drawn for like what seemed like 6 hours. There were tons of furry cocks on like, you know, bears and wolves. I saw a half-naked Bridget from Guilty Gear bent over exposing their booty hole. There were AI-generated nude photos. There's a lot of those. And then there were multiple VTubers who were like streaming with implied nudity, but then they had like a PowerPoint presentation behind them of like drawings of their character nude, even though I don't even think they drew the drawings. Additionally to that, there were just in the art category twerking compilations. Not like people twerking, like just someone had gathered a bunch of videos of twerking and were just playing it like for hours. On the art category. And also, I saw a Russian guy who I guess was just like streaming a hentai he had dubbed, and like I watched that one get banned like mid-stream. I do just want to say, I don't have a problem with erotic art. If that's something you do, that's great. I have plenty of friends who make a living off doing it. Like it's you know, do whatever you gotta do to pay the bills. I ain't judging. But I think the problem with all of this is that people were trying to like ride the lines of what's okay on Twitch, and in like a mad dash to find out what's okay and what's not, people were doing some pretty insane shit to like try to get as much attention as possible. It was so bad that the next morning I woke up and found out that everyone and their mother had been banned, and they had basically just become the canaries in the cave figuring out what was okay and what wasn't. Shortly after this, Twitch announced that they were going to be rolling back the rules on artistic nudity because they referred to them as confusing, yet all the people who were banned, who some of which I think legitimately were kind of following the guidelines that they put forth, are still banned as of the recording of this video, which I think is kind of bullshit. So I wanted to find out, like, definitively what is artistic nudity, right? So I put out a call for college professors to see if they would get on call with me and look at some of the worst offending art that was on Twitch that night. So join me as I show a bunch of college professors a bunch of furry penises. I guess the big question is, like, how would you define artistic nudity? Like, what in your mind falls under that definition?
Okay, so I just have like a little story because this is what I
Sure,
always
I
think
wanna hear
about. Okay, perfect. So my mom and I once took my grandma to the National Art Gallery.
Okay.
Right? So we're wheeling her around in a wheelchair, and we turn this one corner, and like on on a wall this giant framed painting of a nude pregnant woman, and my grandma shouts, she's like, "That's disgraceful!" And I was like, "Oh no, what do we do?" And my mom's like, "Mom, you can't say that." She's like, "Say what?" She's like, "You can't say that's disgraceful." And she goes, "Well, I didn't say that. I just said I didn't like it." Because the short-term memory wasn't really there. But that's what I always think about when people say, like, it has to be artistic nudity. Is just what's safe for grandma to look at.
Guys.
Well, do you want everyone else's definition of artistic nudity?
Yes. You know what? Let's just go. Well, Jeff, we'll start with you. What is you've said basically your definition? You think it's sexual intent? Is that what you said?
Yeah. If the primary intent is sexual gratification, I wouldn't consider that artistic nudity. But if the primary intent is artistic in nature and not primarily for the purpose of sexual gratification, then then it probably would fly.
Okay.
Under artistic nudity.
I mean, I think that we have a weird problem in our culture, which we think that all nudity is sexual, and not exactly the case. There's a lot of non-sexual nudity. If you, a lot of art is full of nudity, and you go to museums and everything because it's like, it's the human form. It is a form of art. So I think like there's a lot of immaturity in our entire culture about what constitutes as as like sexual or profane, and even to the point where it's just like, look, even art is about the human experience, and sex is a part of just living, whether we realize it or not. So it's like that is still something that is artistic.
And I think it's great that you bring up the whole idea of cultures, because I feel like sexuality can also be, the different cultures have different visions of like what is considered sexual versus something that's just just life, that's just part of life. I feel like in our media we like to censor a lot of like nudity on TV, whereas like in Australia or other countries it's like sometimes it's more put out there, and they handle it differently than us. So
yeah, that's true. I grew up in Australia, so actually, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I feel like this is also a really good question for me right now, because I just wrapped up several life drawing sessions in this semester with my students. So we had some really good conversations about this. But for me, I think of it kind of like a sliding scale. So when we're working with a life model, it's obviously about like observation, like looking and seeing, as you mentioned, like how the shapes fit together. With some of the other issues in it, it's like, think of it more like a sliding scale. So we have the quality of observation, which is what we're trying to do as artists, but there's other factors too. There's idealization, like which features are we emphasizing, and why. And then there's eroticism. So that's kind of like another sliding scale there. So like how much of these different factors are you considering, and like are you dialing up as you're working? So life drawing is a lot of observation. It's not a lot of eroticism.
Gotcha.
It's not a lot of idealization if you're actually like looking. So for me, I try and keep those three factors kind of in mind when gauging this type of artwork.
So, like I said, we had one of the things we saw on that day was a twerking compilation. So we're just to ask the group, since everyone else is here now, what do we think of this? Like someone taking some other woman's twerking performance, and getting a big compilation of them and then broadcasting them to 500 people. Do we think that should be in the art category? Do we think that's art? It's
weird because they specifically said twerking was okay in the TOS.
Right.
That's so weird to me.
Yeah. I think the question is the art, like whose art is it? Is it the people who's being shown, or is it the person who's showing it? That's like, whose art is it?
Right. We were saying before you guys joined, would you consider this twerking plagiarism?
Ooh, depends if there's credit.
Margaret, what do you think?
I think it's artistic. It's kind of weird now because nowadays I feel like people don't value crediting as much online. It just seems like resharing is like the biggest thing. But overall, I do believe it's an art form. Dancing. There's a technique to twerking, and in a compilation you can compare like, oh, this technique I like. This technique not so, or like this person doesn't have a good handle on that technique. So I feel like the purpose of sharing the art of twerking.
Yeah. Okay. All right. But I guess my question to you is, what about the plagiarism side of this? Considering the person doing it has no affiliation with any of the performers.
Yeah, they stole those
They
butts.
stole those butts.
Yeah. No credit.
Doesn't-
players,
No credit,
though.
man.
Sorry.
I
Does
don't
it
think.
count as does it count as parody though?
I don't
or
think
something like
so.
that?
This was like it's called 18 plus twerk off. So I don't know.
Yeah, if there's no added commentary, I
Yeah.
don't think, or
There was
you know.
none. There was none.
Okay.
It doesn't
Okay.
seem very transformative. It's just like
Okay.
showing twerking for the sake of, hey
Okay.
guys, we can do this now.
Okay. Well,
In my
next,
opinion.
we're gonna dial back to this one. This is one of the most interesting ones I saw. So we were talking about sexual intent, and I want to show you, and I'm just preparing you. This is a character named Bridget from Guilty Gear, exposing their butthole.
Oh,
What do we think this? Do we think this counts as artistic nudity? Everyone's paused. I knew this one would get you. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure somebody's into it.
Yeah.
This is like right on that edge of maybe.
No,
Yeah.
I would say,
I
like,
got you. Yeah.
why would you be in this pose if not for sexual gratification?
And I
you know?
said, can you imagine going to a museum and seeing Michelangelo's David doing this pose? You know, like I feel like maybe this is 3 lines away, or maybe a few lines away from being pornography, because they're just missing one big line. I don't know. This one's stumped me. But
I think it's very well drawn.
it's
but
very well drawn.
definitely-
It's very well drawn. Okay.
Yeah.
This was something that we were seeing a lot of. I'm sure some of you know what VTubers are. So basically, what was happening is you have this streamer using an animated avatar for the live performance, but behind them, because the VTubers have to adhere to the same rules as streamers because they're animated avatars, so they can have implied nudity. They can't show nipples or anything like that. But because of the way that the art thing was, they were taking fan art, like nude and semi-pornographic fan art, and putting it behind them is like in like a PowerPoint presentation. They didn't draw the art, I think, at least in most cases, but they just had the PowerPoint presentation behind them, and that was just the stream. What do we think? What do we think of this, guys?
For me, it would push more towards the pornographic side because there is an intent in there, like in the writing, horny jail, like there's suggestive facial features, there's sweat.
It's like, have you ever heard that full quote of like, I know it when I see it? Like that comes from a guy in a courtroom defining like pornography, where he's like, I can't put my finger on exactly what it is, but I know it when I see it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but that's also very subjective. That's the
It's
only
very
thing.
subjective.
I was just curious if during the stream, they were breaking down, the rendering of said, boobies.
No,
or,
not at all.
The execution.
I
Okay.
believe they were just flirting with chat. I mean, I wasn't there, but I don't think they were talking about the rendering, judging by the text saying.
Ross had 5 screens open.
Horny yeah, I was trying to draw a YouTube thumbnail. I had people going out to get this for me. I have an alibi, guys. I have an alibi.
How many people were in the stream?
Yeah.
It sounds like a policy that was made by a boomer who's like, yeah, in a perfect and logical world, everybody will do this just right, and then
Exactly.
they just did not realize what reality was.
Yeah, exactly. This is something I said earlier. I was like, I feel like what was going to happen was that you move the goalpost for what's allowed further away. People are going to run up to it, and the metaphor I used was canaries in a coal mine. So like they're going forward, and then you're seeing the bans the next day, and it was like, honestly, even after that, like Twitch were like, yeah, our new rules were confusing, but they didn't roll back any of the bans, which what do you guys think on that? Do you think that that's fair, that even Twitch is calling their rules confusing and they're not pulling back any of the bans on the people who, some of which thought they were following the rules to the letter? I wanted to know what you guys thought on that.
One thing I did find interesting, though, is that in their rollback, they were like, part of the reason they cited was because of AI and the weird things about that. And I'm wondering, if this came out like a few years ago before AI started ruining everything, would this have been somewhat, at least a little bit more manageable for them?
Well, it's interesting you brought that up because this is a lion with a giant cock.
Can we zoom in on the lion?
I'm
here?
trying. It's very low resolution, guys. I'm trying as hard as I can.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought it would be funnier if we zoomed in on it.
Yeah.
Well, there's a little bit of looks like a ejaculate coming out, so I would probably push it more towards that. That in itself, without that,
right?
Maybe not.
Right.
So,
but it's still AI art.
I like how the AI might have potentially added that in too.
The AI was down bad, yeah. I didn't. It's actually funny. Until we zoomed in, I didn't notice the stuff coming out of his.
I didn't either the first time you showed it.
It was like CSI enhance. Oh.
Jeff here like, oh no.
Oh man, I hope this video still reads with all the mosaic blurs because there's gonna be nothing on the
screen. This is either gonna be the funniest video in my entire career or it's going to get me canceled.
It's hard to say.
Yeah, I'm never getting hired again after this.
This is my friend. This is actually one of my friends. This is Momomote or Momo. She is a VTuber, a very, very talented artist. She did draw this herself. Where do we think this stands in artistic nudity? And just for the record, yes, she was banned for this stream.
I still think it's artistic nudity.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that one's fine still.
I think this would be okay.
Yeah, you think this would be okay? A question.
It's right up there, but doesn't quite cross the line.
Do we think?
Seems like the folk.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say. Do we think a erect penis shows sexual intent over like a flaccid penis? Or God, this is a really weird question to be asking you guys. We've just met. I'm so sorry.
I mean.
Well, in like classical art settings, I mean, the erect versus non-erect was kind of like a distinction. So like if you're in a life drawing class, it's a major taboo if the model becomes erect, and it's like a bit of an issue because it's supposed to be so non-sexualized. Mm-hmm. So I mean, when I read this artwork visually, I'm seeing the really sexualized intent. Personally, like whatever, I'm fine with that. But if you're going by like a fine art definition, like this definitely tilts more toward eroticism, and therefore I could see why it got the ban hammer, even if I don't necessarily agree with it.
This image isn't actually the one that got her banned.
I love this meme, by the way.
Yeah. This is actually what got her banned. So
I don't know how you're gonna show that on YouTube, but that's the best thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. So it was. It was.
You know what? Hang this up in a museum, please.
Yeah. So you as professionals, you think that this happy little cat-faced erect wiener is art?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
I think it's art. Why
You
not?
think it's art?
That's art as hell.
Okay, so here's an interesting one. So on the right here, we have streamer Pay Money Wubby, a beloved streamer. And he was going around to these different art streams, drawing nude, artistic nudity, and just kind of reacting to them and whatnot. And here we have one of the furry artists drawing "Hi Wubby," a smiley face on the penis, and him saluting it. I'm saying this because the YouTube audience will not see this. They'll probably just see him saluting. So he was actually banned for reacting to all these creative streams, these art streams.
Interesting.
Even though, like as far as everyone thought, this was okay. What do we think about Twitch's decision to like ban someone who was out of curiosity with their community going to see the full extent of this rule change? Do we think that? What do we think of that?
That's pretty wrong, because I mean, this is just a person who they're looking at stuff, and it's apparently within Twitch's entire rule set. So why not? And plus, like this sort of speaks to the point of like they're banning a guy for essentially archiving an experience that's happening in the moment. So I mean, like, it's not like he's doing it. It's like, oh, there's new rules. Let's go see what's going on in the community. So I mean, like, he didn't technically do anything wrong.
Yeah, just to go along with that. So Jeff and I were actually talking about this previously, and Twitch has a right to curate the kind of content that they host on their website, but it's also their responsibility to make that clear to its audiences, so that it becomes a platform where everybody knows, what is considered not allowed, what is not allowed. So this is kind of on them in this situation. They didn't make it clear. They're walking back. They're making kind of really quick bans when they should be giving a grace period to content creators. So yeah, just a little misstep on their part.
Gotcha. Oh, Amber?
I guess I'm just a little surprised, that they thought it was going to go any differently. I mean, anytime a website makes a policy change about nudity, be it like Tumblr or OnlyFans or whatever, it always blows up. So I guess I'm just confused as to why they didn't think this was going to be a hot potato.
Yeah, before we change this image, I just want to say the line work on this image is really good.
Yeah, I agree. On the
I would also salute that penis.
Honestly, the anatomy's great. I think that Pay Money Webby should be saluting it. I think. Yeah.
I mean, hey, I'm a straight dude, and I'll still salute.
I think that's something we can all agree on.
Yeah, we can all agree. Fantastic anatomy. Particular. A lot of these people, I believe, were banned, except this one, who's Zentrea is just showing a photo of a blue-footed booby. Yeah.
Excellent content.
Yeah, excellent content. That's fantastic, Zentrea. This is a.
Oh, this one's my favorite.
Yeah, this is a we got a very tasteful. What do we think of this? So this is a frog with a very long penis. Posing in a very artful way. I don't know
it's
if this
like
person.
Statue of David, but
have you guys heard of that one? It was like a European show where it was for children, and it was like a superhero who had a super long penis.
I have heard of this.
Show.
I have heard of this. Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
This sounds familiar.
Is this similar to that?
I wonder. This guy was drawing Peter Griffin with a ball gag, and then you can see his little wiener popping out here. He's bent. I think he's about to draw him bent over. Would you say that the ball gag probably adds to sexual intent, correct?
Yeah, that looks like a kink thing.
Yeah. Oh, I found a higher resolution one, guys. Here we go. Okay.
Oh, now we can really see.
Now you can really see the drip on the lion. Oh, thank God, people were actually
his
documenting
hand is
this.
so scary.
They always are. These AI hands are always terrifying. Yeah.
So Ross, I gotta say, I've been a huge fan of your work ever since you were Rubber Ninja on Newgrounds, and I love your work, and I grew up with it. And I've always wondered what it would be like to meet my Newgrounds animation heroes at some point. And this was not the circumstance that I thought I needed.
Sorry, it had to be this way, man.
This is not the circumstance I thought I'd be meeting you.
Dude, he brought me to a call and he just started showing me porn. He's weird dude, guy. To end off, I just want to say that I do find this a little bit disappointing. I've been streaming creative stuff on the internet since Justin TV. So I know for a fact there's a lot of artists that really want the ability to do gesture studies and anatomy studies, but there's always going to be kind of a limiter on how much you can kind of do with that. So not great that this is kind of just the result of us finally getting it and then having it yoinked away because people took advantage of it. I do want to say that I really think the fault here is on Twitch, because guys, you should have commissioned some visual aids to show what was okay and what wasn't. You had to have known this was going to happen. Who pulled the trigger without thinking this part through? You need definitively to show what you as a platform consider artistic nudity. Without it, people are just going to be making assumptions and people are going to be getting banned, which is what happened. So I really do think this is 2 steps forward, 4 steps back. But obviously, I guess when you change the rules, there are always going to be people looking for ways to break them to their advantage.